I'm going to do a real quick video here and talk about something that's been on my mind a little bit, something people probably need to be made aware of. Um, and it's about the Palomar Max Mod AM regulator. If you guys can see this, I don't know if you guys can see the writing on it. There you go. Palomar Max Mod. So this is a upgrade AM regulator. It's an excellent little component that helps a lot of radios. The stock AM regulators and many radios can be a failure point sometimes, not always, but they can be a failure point. And a workaround that is this Max Mod. It's quite a bit physically larger than the stock regulator and performs quite a bit better. However, I do want to caution people on these because there are certain radios that I do not recommend this for. And you can take it as a grain of salt, take it as good advice or not. But one thing I've encountered is when you install these Max Mods into a radio, the radio section is going to start producing more power, and that sounds like a good thing, and generally it is for your 955 strikers, 655s, so on and so forth. All your strikers, your Connex 3300s, Connex 30 or 3400s, things of that nature. Um, Replacing the AM regulator and upgrading it to this one is a great thing because generally you gain a significant amount more power. For example, a Connex 3400 HP, generally a 50 to 60 watt PEP radio, and I think around 20, 25 average. When you install one of these into it, if I'm not mistaken, I think they jump up to about 80 watts or so PEP, and the average power comes up to around 30 to 35, if I'm not mistaken. I've actually got one over here I need to do a video on. But have seen that with similar radios. That's about the power increase you can expect out of it. So that's a great thing. However, when you get into these radios that have amplifier sections built into them, you start kind of playing with fire. Um, or I also want to stress radios that have a power supply built in, such as base station radios, is something to think about. If you're going to get that much of a power increase, let's say you have a base radio and the power supply and it's rated, they've overrated a little bit, and they want it to be good for, let's just say, 50 watts average and 130 PEP. And you put this max mod in there, and now all of a sudden your radio is doing 75 watts average, and it's doing 155, 160, 170 PEP. Now you're putting a strain on the other components in that radio, and that's just talking about a base station, such as the power supply. You could overwork the power supply that way. The other thing I want to talk about is, let's say you have a Longhorn 99N4, something like that has an actual amplifier section in it. And for example, let's say a Longhorn. I don't even think we've put a max mod in a Longhorn because it's not a good idea in my opinion. And I'll explain why. Let's say the radio section of that radio, just the radio section, not the amplifier section, is doing 100 watts PEP when you turn the amp off. You put this max mod in, and all of a sudden, the radio section is doing 140 PEP. And now instead of putting 100 watts PEP into the amplifier section, you're putting 140 watts PEP into it. And boy, does it look good on the watt meter. But again, to the detriment of the rest of the radio, you've improved the radio section of it, but now you're putting the amplifier section in more of a strain because the radio is doing so much power. So, my opinion on this, on certain radios, okay, if you want the max mod in there just because it's a better component, that's fine. That's fine. But I would recommend turning the power on the radios down in those circumstances. If it's in a base radio, just because the max mod makes it do more power, I would not run it at that higher power level because, again, you might put the power supply in a strain and cause a power supply failure. Have a current situation going on with a customer that I believe that is the case, as there's been about a dozen more of these radios sold without a max mod in them, and they performed fine. He strongly wanted the max mod put in it. He had it put in there after he bought it from me, and now he's got a power supply failure. And it could be coincidence, but I truly believe that the increase in power output due to the max mod has caused his power supply failure. Because, like I said, I've sold about a dozen more of these radios and have not had one single failure out of it. And again, like I said, the radios that have amplifier sections built into it, um, if you start getting a 25% power increase from your radio and you're driving that extra power into your amp, it's probably not going to go too well. Like a Longhorn, they're doing all they need to do after they leave here tuned, optimized, whatever you want to call it. That's all they need to be doing. That's a safe, maximum, optimal power output. The power that they leave here doing. Now, again, you put the Max Mod in there. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if they'll jump up to 900 watts or 1,000 watts or what, but it's going to be kind of unsafe to run them that way. Something to think about, guys. I hate to break away from the customer videos to do this, but it's been on my mind. I want to talk about it a little bit and kind of spread some awareness around it. These things are great. Don't think that I'm knocking these, because they're a major help to a lot of radios. Like I said, all your strikers are they significantly improve their performance with this Max Mod added into them, and a lot of other radios too. Your kind of medium output radios, Connexes, some of the Galaxies that do 50, 60 watts. I think we had a 66 V3. I know for a fact we did a 66 V3 with one of these, and it did go from doing about 55, 60 watts to doing about 80 watts PEP. So if you're trying to get all you can out of just a radio like that, that's fine. It's only going to help it. But again, these radios are, like I said, base station radios or radios with amp sections. It's something to think about. All right, everybody have a good day. More videos to come. Rooster in Tennessee, roostercb.com. Catch you guys out there. See you, bye.